Hey everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to our first episode of Planting Seeds. You are here with Chad and Bree, and we're so happy to have you. Let's go ahead and start off and talk about a little bit about ourselves. So, Chad, go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself. We'll start with you.
Well, as you said, I'm Chad. I'm from Louisiana. Come from a fairly large family. Ended up in Florida, and that's pretty much where I met my wife. And I'll let her give a little bit background and really kind of introduce the show.
Yeah, well, as he said, we met in Florida. Before I moved to Florida, I came from Colorado. I was raised with two other siblings, a brother and a sister, and most recently had another sister join us as well. So I don't come from too big of a family, but it has expanded over the past couple of years. And yeah, that's led us to Florida and led me to my husband. So meeting him was great, and we've learned a lot these past couple of years together. So we're happy to share what we've learned.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the toughest things meeting someone is getting to know them, and I think finally we're, on the same path, seeing the same thing, and kind of going for the same thing, and it's kind of fun doing it with your companion. So
It is. It's fun, and it's definitely self assuring when you know that your counterpartner is on the same page as you as far as what you want out of life and your viewpoints on life. So
yeah. So
absolutely.
with that being said, we'll go ahead and dive into it. I don't know if y'all checked it out, but we thought of a unique way to kind of introduce our podcast. So we kind of came up with an interview style to introduce it. Um, we put a lot of thought into that as well. That should already be released by now. So if you haven't saw it, you should check it out. If you have saw it, I hope you liked it. Subscribed or thumbs up. But we'll go ahead and give just a little brief recap of pretty much what we spoke on
Yeah.
it.
So
So
as
she pretty much interviewed me.
yep.
So I allowed my wife to interview me. I had to pretend that I didn't know who she was just to kind of make it realistic. Kind of asked me various questions about myself and about our podcast. Allowed me to talk about how we even got introduced to wanting to do a podcast, which was indirectly through YouTube, kind of watching everyone, every walk of life, kind of putting themselves out there on their YouTube channel. And it kind of made us want to do it, but the podcast kind of lends more for the conversational piece, which I think appeals to us more. So we went more with that direction.
Yeah, definitely. As you said, we want to hear from you guys. We want to be able to converse and talk about the different concepts that we've come up with for you guys. So just to jump into a gist about what interests us, what piqued our interest, and what we talked about a little bit on the interview as well, the Illuminati.
Yes. And before we dive into that, the reason why we kind of wanted to speak on conspiracies for like our initial jump off of our podcast, because it's probably of course going to change, just like everyone else who does conspiracy, it eventually changes to something else. The reason why we wanted to kind of dive into it first was because we feel like it's very, very important. We feel like
Definitely.
everyone should know,
Mhm.
you know or at least know both sides of the coin
At
to a
least
lot
hear
of the
both
things.
sides,
Yeah,
and when people hear conspiracy, they may see it as something that's negative or a rumor, but really it's just I guess, an alternative.
yes, it's an alternative possible fact. At the end
Yep,
of the day, the
facts.
fact that the fact that they put out the narrative that they put out is only facts because they say so. So what's the difference between someone else with an opinion at the end of the day, coming up with drawing their own conclusion based on the same, evidence, same story, same plot, same whatever,
It's just the complete truth.
yeah, they say, two sides to the story. Everyone has a story, so you could believe the story that's written or pitched to you, or you can believe accounts of, actual people who were there, who have,
Right.
experienced via what they saw, heard, or whatever.
Exactly. And based on your experiences, if you believe differently and you have a different point of view other than ours, but you listen to us and you'd like to have a conversation with us about it, we'll be more than happy to talk with you and battle it out or have a discussion about it, rather.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a conversation that we're having and a viewpoint. If it opens people's eyes, perfect. At the end of the day, everyone is individual in charge of their own mind, own way of thinking. But that's part of why we're doing this because we feel like no one thinks for themselves anymore. Everyone kind of allows the media or the government or whatever it may be to dumb them down and kind of guide them through life without them even knowing. So we just, we kind of created this to highlight certain things, certain, topics, aspects in life that we feel is severely manipulated for you to not benefit.
Absolutely. And, we're definitely going to delve deep into the conspiracy concept. But there's also other things that we're going to talk about on here as well a little bit later on after we cover the different topics. What was it? Almost 40 different topics that we had to cover in regards to conspiracy theories and the Illuminati. There's also other things that we want to talk about as well. Other talents that Chad may have, other videos that we want to post that may pique other interest in you guys. So, there's definitely a lot that we want to show and talk with you guys about.
Correct. So, before we jump off into the first one, just want to give y'all a heads up. As we stated, it's our first episode, so it may be a little rough with the takeoff, but
We'll get there.
we'll get there. And as time goes, we'll get a little bit more comfortable. The crazy thing is, we have these in-depth conversations all the time, which flows naturally, comes out naturally. But you put that camera in front of people, and
And
all
that
of a
mic,
sudden,
yeah.
them nerves comes out.
Yep.
It's the spotlight kind of turns on then.
Yep.
But we're gonna try to keep it as natural, as possible because I think those are the best conversations. So we have little talking points, but we're not is no verbatim,
So yeah, it's not rehearsed. This is just, conversations that we're gonna have with you today, and just so happen to have a mic and camera in front of us. So, but we will get better. Just hang in there with us, and again, we're happy to have you here. So we definitely want to go ahead and get right into it.
Yeah, we'll say give it at least 3 episodes before you make a decision to, to stop listening or continue listening or whatever. Don't judge by the first one. The first one is just a little quick intro into what we're going to be speaking about. But the topics is what we really dive deep into and break down for to you to pretty much think and be like, damn, you know what? They actually got a point. I ain't never think about it that way. I've never seen it that way. They just may be onto something, and I promise you a lot of the things that we talk about you will end up going home thinking about later or the
Yeah,
next day.
and that's what we're hoping for, is to be able to open someone's mind or just put a question mark out there. Put a question in someone's head so they can look into it themselves. So that is our overall hope. Also, if you do want to go ahead and subscribe to our channel, Planting Seeds channel, make sure to do that. Thumbs up this particular video, and make sure that you follow and subscribe to us on all of our streaming channels as well.
Yes, and one last thing before we jump into it, for everyone who is just listening to like the audio, we do record this and edit it for YouTube that will have a little bit more content into it that we can't obviously show,
Yes.
through audio. So you can always double back and rewatch it because it'll be a little bit more additional content added into it.
Yeah, and watching someone versus just listening to them adds something extra as well.
And my
So,
wife is beautiful, so y'all don't know what the people who haven't saw y'all don't know what y'all missing.
wow, yeah. And then we have this, we spent all this money on this wonderful light in front of us. So why waste the light in this expensive camera for nothing? So make sure that you go ahead and check us out on YouTube as well, and tell your friends about us, about our podcast and about our YouTube channel. We would appreciate
In other words, she said we invested a lot into because we really don't
it.
have it like that. We're really broke like on everything, so we
Yeah,
invested a lot
humble.
into doing this, which means that we're taking it seriously,
Hmm.
and we really want y'all to you know take us seriously pretty much at the
Yes,
end of the day.
we want to be taken seriously. We want to hear what you have to say. Any input, suggestions that you guys may have, we're definitely happy to take those in. So
Are you ready to dive
I am
in?
ready to dive in. So I'll have him get started on the Illuminati and where it began.
Yeah, so seemed like what from what I've heard or from what I've kind of observed, the Illuminati was kind of something that people were fearful to talk about back in the day, even saying a word or mentioning things that they may have known about them. But I think due to technology and the powers of media and social media, so much information has been leaked. So many people have created their own documentaries on it that is just is too exposed to kind of hide. So we're gonna speak freely on it as well,
Yeah,
pretty
there's
much.
plenty of other people speaking freely on it, just in case one person hasn't heard. Hopefully we can be that that voice to reach you. So
Yes, so just in case you didn't know, may pronounce the name incorrectly, but Adam Weishaupt was the founder of the Illuminati. He was actually obviously from a European country. I'm thinking Germany or somewhere there.
yeah.
But I know it was in Munich in 1777 where he met up with some guy named Adolf Fryer, something like that. But with a name like Adolf, you already know that was going to go in the wrong direction. And and it absolutely has. And
It can never end well
look,
when your name is
that
Adolf.
name is forever cursed.
Yes.
Anyone who's naming their kids Adolf, from
Yeah.
from the last 80 years,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
shame on you. Like,
Shame
do
on
not
you.
name your goddamn child Adolf. Like, for real.
Yeah. So
First of all, the name ain't even like. I hate my name. That's why I keep it real.
you
I'm
hate
not even saying
child.
it like I hate my name. So I ain't even saying it like I got a cool name. But Adolf, like, bruh, like, nah.
Yeah, so him and Mr. Adolf apparently teamed up and they decided to organize some type of ritual based structure or some type of secret organization they named the Illuminati.
Yeah, and I think this is where the rituals initially probably was,
Hmm.
implemented. They got a huge recruitment for their Masonic society. Um, and anything in life when you really want to make a change, which y'all should listen to this. If when you really want to make a change, you pretty much get a following behind you. You build some steam and you get enough people behind you, that change will eventually come. But you got to have people playing on the same team.
Yeah,
The good and bad thing about that is it was an evil genius plot that seems like it's coming into
fruition
fruition,
it
and he
is.
got enough people to team up with him to stay consistent with that plan while everyone else is sit around getting
And do
duped.
nothing, and then we're sheep. We're just and we're getting, I guess, diluted even more as the centuries go on. Keep in mind, this has been happening and strategically thought out since the 1700s. Since the 1700s, they've been, I guess, strategically organizing this secret society to get what is it, totalitarian one world government is their overall goal,
You know
is
what
the
else
emergence of
happened?
that.
1776, when the Illuminati was founded, the American Declaration of Independence was also signed. I don't think that's a big coincidence.
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson actually is noted that he admired Weishaupt's philosophy and his writing in the 1800s, which was after the Declaration of Independence was signed. But guess what? It was already done by then. A lot of Weishaupt's ideals and philosophies can be implemented in the Declaration of Independence, which I'm more than sure it probably. I mean, come on, be for real. I'm more than sure it is, like, point blank. Period. It
Yeah, them
is.
same ideals carried over to that Declaration of Independence that we still stand by today, unfortunately. But we're definitely going to talk about that a little bit deeper.
And the crazy thing is the Declaration of Independence. I know everyone knows, the demographics that it, pretty much, shuns, or what I'm
It
saying.
was
You're
in the
trying to say.
1700s. We know who were the
Right.
minorities at that point, at that, that
Correct,
we know that.
but the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that even nowadays, like that Declaration of Independence, people don't that shit. You may as well throw that shit out the window. People, the law, the government, police, whatever agency, they have their own set of rules, own set of laws.
Yeah.
Your freedom of speech, your freedom of whatever is determined if they say so, if they want it. So that Declaration of Independence, you may as well rip that shit up for real, for real. But at least that shows what got the ball rolling,
Yeah,
with this whole thing.
for sure. Absolutely. So that tells you a little bit about where the Illuminati stemmed from, who created or started the Illuminati, and what their ideals were. So, and again, what we stand by today is the same. A lot of the same things that Weishaupt standed for in the 1700s. So, just to tell you a little bit about that.
Now, before we go into topics, we were going to briefly kind of just do a quick overview of topics that we're going to discuss
Hmm.
throughout, this entire journey um, of this speaking on this topic. Before we do so, I don't want to make light of pretty much the plot, like the evil plot. Like when you really think about it and you really break it down, when you think about someone feeling that they have the ability to manipulate the life. I mean, seriously, the life of another person. And in all actuality, that's what they're doing. They're manipulating our lives in so many different ways.
Yeah, and why are they able to manipulate our lives on a massive
I think
scale?
it's a power control. I think people narcissists love to have that
Mm,
power, but
yeah,
to want power over the masses is one thing, right?
power and money.
At the end of the day, these people sitting in these positions are individuals, people, humans. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
that's making these decisions on everyone else's life.
isn't that crazy? They're just people just like you and I, Chad, and they're making
They
those.
ain't like me, cause I ain't evil like that. I'm shit. I don't
And
want power over one person, let alone a masses of people. Like seriously, the power to
yeah,
say I can affect someone's the masses' lives dramatically simply by doing this. I don't want that
yeah, like
shit.
you said, it's evil. A lot of that stems from some sort of satanic evilness that has been carried on for generations by a particular group of people, by the enlightened quote quote people.
Look,
So,
we're not dumb. We know there's a difference between good and evil. If there's
mhm.
a difference between good and evil, then there must be a heaven and a hell. I mean, you have your own opinion. I have mine. Just in case, wouldn't you want to like error on caution, like play the safe side and say, just in case there is a heaven, let me in this lifetime
Yeah.
not do no fucked up shit that's gonna get me sent to the other place.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it seems like the masses, instead of erring on caution and wanting to go to heaven, they just say, fuck it. I have the one life to live. Let's live it the way that I want to. And that's a satanic belief.
For real though, can you imagine that conversation? Can you imagine a conversation that Adam had when it was time for him to meet his maker? Like seriously, like Adam, like what the fuck? Like I didn't know if you was writing a fictional book or if this shit was serious, but you was serious about this shit.
Yeah.
And as Adam, do you just man up and be like, you know what, I fucked up. Go ahead and send me where you need to send me. We
Or
already know. Or do you come up with a
are you still as arrogant as you were and there on your way to hell as you were on earth?
Yeah, like for real.
Probably.
Boy, I bet you that boy roasting with a lot of other people,
Hmm.
with a lot of other motherfuckers, with more people to come, and that's really what we trying to do. Trying to, I mean, in a way, trying to save
We're
souls.
trying to save souls, okay? Because honestly, if we're being honest, we're not the same person today that we were a year or two ago. Just by the decisions that we've made, by what we watch, what we listen to, what we expose ourselves to, and a lot of that comes from these conspiracies and th- listening to people
Some
expose the
some of
truth.
it comes from life as well, from
A
own
lot.
personal accounts to where you start to think about shit and think about
Yeah.
how other demographics have it different or how other walks of life have it different or how your particular demographic has it. It just seems like life is so, it just
Unfair.
doesn't seem like life should be this hard, point blank period. I'm just being honest. That notion of you put in, you get out what you put in life, that's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit, because if you're being real, if you go to a job and you bust your ass, they could let you go at the drop of a dime. You could have been busting your ass for 7 years, and they could so you put all that effort into that job, but yet there's another person that holds power over your livelihood.
Yeah, a
You
hundred
know,
percent.
people don't know the stress that comes with that. Like that whole like all of these organizations, all of these companies that at one time didn't exist, and somehow humanity still made it this far. Still, that should tell people
They
stuff.
were okay back in the
They
1400s when
ain't
there
have to
wasn't
go
a
put in
J.C.
those
Penney's and a
10
Walmart.
hour
Okay.
10-hour work days getting paid pennies
Yeah.
while the person at the very top
Yeah.
getting paid billions,
Yeah.
getting paid
It's
billions.
and it's a consumer based society. It's all about consuming and the companies and the CEOs getting richer, 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 and the bottom feeders, as a lot of people put it, just getting poorer and poorer.
Yeah,
So
and the bottom feeders are only named that because it's the masses who goes without. If the 1% has technically all the money in this damn nation or in this damn world, then doesn't that mean that the masses is the bottom feeders crawling to snatch pennies and get dropping coins out of pockets, like for
yeah,
real at the end of the day?
yeah,
When you compare those billions to the little
the little
hundreds or
specks
thousands
that.
that we get,
Yep.
that's all it is, the,
We're bottom feeding. We're scrapping to survive. We're fighting over the little bit of money that we're thrown while they're swimming in money more than they know what to do with.
our entire life. Like, one life to live. Your one life to live is being determined, dictated,
Manipulated.
manipulated in so many different ways, which we're going to get into. And this is your one life. This is your one shot at it that your creator put you on this earth and said,
Yeah.
you know, do you or whatever it is, but I know damn well it wasn't break your back for somebody else. And at the end of your life, look back on your life and regret that you ain't do something for yourself,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, there are a couple things before we talk about our viewpoints. I do want to elaborate on manipulation. What does manipulation truly mean? It means to handle or control. You can either handle or control someone or a being with a tool or some sort of mechanism. It's typically in a skillful manner, control or influence, and it's unfair. Okay, so it's something that's unfair. It's used to handle or control, and it's usually used with a tool.
And let me
So,
let me tell you, most people who, if you're great at manipulation, most
yeah,
people don't even know they're being manipulated.
yeah,
And I'm gonna be honest, I think I'm pretty decent at it. I think I learned a little bit of game from my oldest brother, but I is not in a way of manipulating people to get advantage over them. For the most part, it's just manipulating, situations, finding loopholes and things like that.
overthinking someone to benefit you because everyone else is doing it. So why
Right.
not?
But the one thing I'll never do is, do it to, and at the end of the day, most of it be like companies, businesses. I'll
Yeah,
never
and it's
do it
not in a
to,
vindictive nature.
yeah, I'll never
So,
do it to like a person to like gain an advantage over them. But that's what they're doing.
hmm
Manipulating lives, manipulating health, manipulating everything, income, like just everything
every
about
aspect of
life,
life. Yeah.
everything about life. So we're gonna go ahead and, well, do you have anything else to say before we kind of give a little quick overview?
Really, just again, I just want to reiterate to open your mind, just be willing to listen or accept a different idea or opinion other than your own, and share with us. I guess what your feedback is.
Yeah,
So
at the end of the day, whether you agree or disagree, we would love to hear comments, because just like we're asking you to kind of listen and see our perspective, we also would like to listen and see yours. So if you have information, personal stories, whatever, whether you agree or disagree, we're not here to argue or to create enemies. At the end of the day, it's a conversation. Like,
yeah,
people need to understand that. Like, I see on social media, people go at it. It turns into people losing their lives, turns into threats. It's conversation at the end of the day. We're not going to be disrespectful towards anyone. And, we hope the same in return. But at the end of the day, we are adults. We know how to handle it if it does come our way.
yeah, exactly. Who are we as mankind if we can't sit down and talk and be open to each other's opinion and help each other out? So uh, definitely. So I am excited to hear from you guys. You again, as I said, you can either email us. It doesn't have to necessarily be an interview or conversational type of style. Whatever that you're interested in, we're open to. So let
Yep.
us know.
So, just really quickly, we're going to briefly go over a lot of the topics that we're going to discuss throughout the episodes. And then from there, we'll wrap up our very first episode. And we hope that everyone tunes in for episode 2, which will be the very first topic, which is going to be actually,
Vaccinations. So
yes.
with vaccinations, let's start off with a question. Do you even know what's really put into vaccinations? Does anyone really know what the true side
No,
effects are?
no, and I'll tell you why no one knows, and I'll tell you why no, I'll tell you why the masses, the average person, has no idea what the hell is put into it. Cause you ain't no damn doctor, we ain't no damn doctor. All we going by is what they say. If
Yep,
they say they put A, B, and C in it, we're gonna come back and relate that message to our counterpart. Like, oh, it's okay. They only said that this, and this is in it.
yep.
Like, as if they don't have the ability of lying, as if they don't have a benefit, a benefit
A
into it, a stake
monetary
into it.
benefit
Like,
to
come
it.
on.
Yeah, and then I feel like there's certain level of with the doctors where they don't even really know what's going on. They're just being told something and passed something, and they're just handing it down and shooting it into people. So maybe they're even being manipulated. Maybe not even the entire healthcare is in on it, just the CEOs, the ones at the top. So
Yep, and we're not saying that all vaccinations are bad or
mm,
phony or fake or
yeah,
false, but there's too many out there for all of them to be real. You know what I'm saying? It's like they could shoot you with something to cure something or to clear some shit up to be like, see, we're doctors, we know what we're doing. But then they could have about 20 other vaccinations that's complete BS or made to dumb down a certain part of your brain, whatever the case may be. It'll be so easy for them to slide in some that can fuck somebody up in a type of way.
yeah.
So obviously they're not going to have shit everything that don't work, so they got to have shit that does work to make people trust them to come back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, what we do know from our research that we've done is that those particular vaccinations can cause some diseases, some impairments, some learning disabilities, and even some of our family members may have been affected by this. So, this is what we know is real and what is factual. Are you guys aware of the certain diseases that it causes? Are you aware of the stories of the parents who have had children not wake up after a doctor's visit? That's something that you definitely need to look at, research, watch. Become what empathetic towards the stories of these parents and the stories of these children.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the parents spend way more time with their children than the doctors.
Hmm.
I would take their word for it before I take a doctor's.
Doctors, right?
But that'll be something that we, dive deeper into once we, do that episode.
Yes.
Another subject that we're going to discuss is the education system. That pretty much from what 4 or 5 years old they start on you at that point, maybe even before then, because they'll probably have some little shit, Big Bird, put you in front of a TV and have Big Bird teaching you your ABCs and shit like that. But at the end of the day, the education system, we all know, is to condition people to learn, to have the same knowledge, so everyone can have the same knowledge, so everyone can pretty much think similarly, the
Think the
same way.
same. They want, again, we're going to get to a point where everything is robotic and systematic. They want us to all think and be the same so that we don't revolt or figure out the truth.
There's some benefits to the education system, but if we're being real, when we break it down, we're going to show you so many faults, so many, like, it's especially nowadays, it's just beyond. Like, I mean the students are out of control, the teachers are out of control, nobody give a shit. Like,
It's
come
a
on, man.
joke,
It really
honestly.
is, it really is. I mean, look at it's if you want to know how much it's a joke, look at society,
Hmm.
look at the generation, and you'll see.
Like there was recent stories where even in college where parents are bribing colleges because they have status or money to be able to get into certain colleges. So the education system isn't.
But we all knew that's how that shit was. I mean, come on, keep it real. The
It's
rich will
horrible. It shouldn't
always
be that
the
way.
rich will always use their money to get what they want. You know why? Because they have made money such an important commodity,
Hmm.
which is that's the next, one of our next topics that we're going to speak on is money, and how this material thing, how this thing that in all actuality holds absolutely no value. And you know how it holds no value? Because if we went through another crisis and they say that the value of the dollar it just is worthless now, then all the millionaires can go ahead and burn that fucking money. All the billionaires can go ahead and burn that fucking money. But
They
the reason
won't.
that they won't, because they have the end game plan. So before they allow that shit to become valueless, they gonna pull the trigger and do some old crazy shit to us, and we gonna be caught completely off
Oh yeah, I agree. Completely off guard. We won't know what happened, but we're gonna say we've been telling you on planting seeds. We've been
Right.
trying to
We
tell
been
you
trying to
guys what's
plant them.
going on.
Some
Wake up,
hey, we planting them. Y'all, it's up to y'all to go home and let that shit water, let that shit grow.
grow.
All we could do is plant them. Have your own mind, think about it, come to your own conclusions.
That's all we're trying to do, man. All right. Now, another thing we want to talk about is, or we'll talk about at one point, is slavery. Now, as many of you know the what's taught in schools. You know that type of slavery. You don't know the truth behind slavery.
Yeah, and you probably only heard the slavery story told so many times consistently
The
that you
same
probably
way.
don't even
Mhm.
care to hear it again because you think it's going to be the same story. But
Yeah.
nah, we got a whole different perspective for you. We come in at a whole different angle when we talk about this topic because we think that the way the story was told obviously was manipulated like every other damn story they tell.
Yeah,
Like, you know.
where we'll talk about where even slavery was African Americans. I guess the deceit behind where African Americans came from, there
Mhm.
where they actually,
The
lived.
ship, the trip that we took, and all of that. We're gonna get into it.
Definitely
And that slavery thing kind of ties into another topic, which is our
manipulating.
history,
Yeah.
manipulating history, and we're just not talking about slavery. I mean, think about this. And what it was in 1772,
Mhm.
Columbus sailed the ocean blue, some shit like that,
Right.
and discovered what America.
People already here, but he discovered it. Keep that in
What?
mind.
What? I learned that shit, and then that shit stuck with me. I'm 30 some years old, and I still that dumb shit still stick. That's what we talking about, and that
Yeah.
shit's not true history.
Yeah.
And they ain't discovered shit. You can't discover something if I'm living in a home and a motherfucker walk in talking about I just discovered this house, get out. I'm like,
Hmm.
what the fuck? Like, nigga, I've been here.
I
Like, what
know.
you talking about?
But that's what happened. That's the reality of it. Yeah, it happened hundreds of years ago, but people really got driven out of their homes and killed and tortured and their soil overtaken, and now they're just thrown a monthly check. Their ancestors are thrown a monthly check, and it's all supposed to be forgotten.
It's so much about history. That's even now history in my living day, like the
Hmm.
9/11. That's history, but that happened in my
Yeah,
lifetime, and
all of that.
someone 50 years from now, 60 years from now, is going to hear that bullshit made up narrative story and think that that's the way it really went fucking down.
When we
And
all, well,
yeah,
I wouldn't say all, but a majority of us, a good bit of
yeah,
us
I'm
know.
gonna be that old motherfucker on a documentary trying to expose shit that happened back in 2001 or whatever,
He's gonna be still trying to tell the story
Yeah,
and
I'm
get
gonna
his
be like,
word
that's
out.
not how
So
9/11 went down.
yeah,
Listen to me.
and yeah, like you said, it's manipulation of the politician, politics. Several different things that are being manipulated through history, and through time. A lot of information being hoarded, the truth being hoarded and kept certain places.
We're
So
gonna talk about how they coming for everyone's kids with the cartoons and the
yeah,
animations. Some things that I'm sure people know about, but I'm sure there's millions of people who don't know about these illustrators who probably getting paid so much money to pollute kids' minds without us even knowing. We're
yeah.
talking about Disney cartoon characters that are drawn from a female or male's anatomy and ends up being Scooby Doo or something like that.
Look it up. There are videos out there. If you Google it, look it up on YouTube, where the image starts from something sexual, as he said, genitalia.
Blatantly sexual.
Yeah,
I'm
and it's
talking about motherfuckers got talent. They could draw their ass off for real, for real.
beautiful illustrations, but it
Using
turns
it the
into
wrong way. Come
goofy.
on, man. Using it the wrong way. And the crazy thing is, a child's mind at that age that,
Mhm.
they're still developing. So they're subconscious. They're seeing stuff that an adult who's already went through those brain phases don't see anymore. And that's why they can hide it in cartoons and things that we could pass a TV and not take a second glance because we think they're watching Mickey Mouse or something like that.
And they're mesmerized. You ever saw a child staring at the TV? They are
Lost.
locked in, mesmerized, and taking all of that in subconsciously. There's a lot of videos and information about the subconscious mind and what that does to a child during those important developmental ages. And that it goes into all entertainment, really, the entertainment aspect in general, whether that be with television or with movies and acting. We're going to talk about all of that more. Um, Next would be fluoride. Many of you, if you're not aware of fluoride, many of you should be at this point. It's a chemical that can be man-made. It can also be not man-made. Apparently, placed into certain waters, soils, and foods that we
Everyone should be
ingest.
familiar with it because everyone consumes it. It's in
Yeah,
your water. You
yeah.
can't avoid it. Like the crazy look, it doesn't. It's not necessary. It is no benefit to having that. I think the storyline, which we're going to dive deeper into it, that the benefit would have something to do with like your oral teeth care or
Yeah,
some
it's,
shit
it's
like that.
supposed to reduce the
Nah, man.
prevalence of tooth decay in
Oh,
population.
but we have some
Yeah,
stuff of what it really does, and what it really does,
yeah.
to you or whatever. But having it in things that you need to live, like water, shit that you
Water,
can't avoid.
toothpaste,
Like, come
toothpaste, and
on.
it's proven. There's factual evidence where it affects your neurological development. So
Yeah,
that's
I just drunk some. I just felt that shit fuck with my brain. I just drunk some water. Just now, I'm telling you, that shit
no. Sometimes
effective immediately.
that ice cold water, nothing is better than it, man. But they can go without the fluoride. I'll just say
All right, we kind of already talked about how they
that. So
controlling the movements in the world,
mhm.
but the episode is gonna bring up some specific events on that. Something else that they're kind of starting to make a little blatant, which
Mhm.
everyone should open their eyes and see, is that doesn't it seem like a lot of the governmental, the industry people, the famous people, like the people who are exposed, doesn't it seem like a lot of them have like a little Satanistic feel to
A
them? The
dark,
signs, like
like a dark feel to
the
them.
signs that they throw up, the fuck shit that they do, the lies that they tell aren't everyday lies. The
Mhm.
lies that they tell are lies that affect people's lives. It ain't no, oh, I was at the bar when, or I was at my friend's house when I was
Mhm.
really at the bar. Their lies affect, like shit. For instance, uh, this vaccination is really for fucking chicken pox when in actuality, if that's something else, then everybody that go get that vaccination is about to get something pumped into their system that can cause behavior problems, or it should just cause whatever. So
Yeah,
just
shouldn't
at the
cause.
end of the day, their lives outweigh, weighs heavily more than the average person lives, because their lives affects more than just one, two, three people.
Yeah, and you have to ask yourself, why would a person or a group of people do all this? It has to be something dark and satanic about
Like, come on, there's everyday evil, then it's like that devilish shit. Like, everyday evil is lying. Maybe a person can go kill a person, or a person maybe be able to go shoot up, a few people, unfortunately. But one thing that most people, the masses, do not have the ability of doing is for real, wiping out a big ass chunk of people or manipulating a big ass chunk of people's lives or whatever. And they do. And they have that ability. They've done pretty much mastered, pulling the wool over people's eyes, through years and years and years. And what happens when you start to do stuff and do it and do it, and you get better at
it.
it?
Yeah,
You
you
get better
perfect
at
it.
it. You perfect it.
Yeah,
And they became so good that the majority of people don't even know how much they get, and pretty much bucked.
yeah, and don't even question it. You don't even you wake up every day, do the same thing, and just keep it moving and not making shit.
Evil shit. So that's that deep rooted evil shit that gets you that first class ticket to hell. Like, for real, for real.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to talk about the satanic nature with symbolism in the entertainment industry, in the media, acting,
How they
big
pretty much
movies. I
pushing
mean,
it, pushing the agenda to the, when they send shit out to the, through media waves,
yeah.
pretty much they're exposing it to people for a reason. Anything that they put out that they expose, they have a purpose behind it.
Hmm.
So if they're allowing people, to put on these satanic performances, these networks that's broadcasting it, then they're doing that for a damn reason. They're
Yeah.
in that they're with the shits.
They're with it, and we're going to talk about that as well, who they are and how real it is, and we have to be aware of that. So,
We're also going to touch on gambling, but it seems like people who do gamble is their adrenaline rush. And look, I come from a long family of gamblers, and I've had my issues with it to where I had to seriously like put myself in check to kick that shit. But that's what it's made for, to hook your ass, to make you feel like shit. I'm about to win big this week. I'm about to hit
Yep,
it
you want
this
that
week.
high. You're always searching for that adrenaline
Like seriously,
rush.
and there's an adrenaline rush that comes with losing as well that people
Hmm.
don't understand.
Hmm.
Like the problem, there's an adrenaline rush that comes with losing, but a lot of shit that comes with gambling is nothing but negative that comes with gambling. You isolate yourself from people to make sure you're keeping up with your scores. Make sure you're spending money. You're finding money to spend when you get yourself put in a hole. You're keeping secrets. I mean, is meant to break a relationship apart.
It's
You
meant to
ain't
break.
gonna win.
You're gonna break families apart. You're gonna break down people. You're
Average
gonna.
person ain't gonna win shit. The house always wins for a reason. You're wasting your
Hmm.
time. And if you think that them sports not manipulated, wake your ass up. I used to be heavy into it. I don't even watch shit no more. You can ask. I used to be. My brothers to tell you. I grew up with the shit, and sports was embedded in us. I don't even really have slight interest in basketball anymore. I'll watch, my Saints and LSU. But now, it's just, the shit. They got me. Shit, they done manipulated me with this shit. So I'm a fan too now.
You die hard now, so it's too
but
late.
but as far as the betting aspect, when I eliminated that shit, my interest for those sports dramatically went down. It was the gambling that kept me interested in it. When I took the interest away, I kind of put more interest in, my wife or other shit, and made things better, easier. Fuck, you save more money at the end of the day. Even if you win, you're going to gamble it back.
Yeah.
So we already know that shit set up. And and by the way, the government makes billions off of motherfucking lotto and shit like
Let's not forget that,
come on,
okay?
bro.
Let's
Like,
not forget that. But hey, that's some truth for you, and we're definitely going to talk a lot more about gambling and what it can turn into. So
yeah, gambling messes with your emotions,
yeah,
which kind of goes into our next topic.
yeah, it definitely messes with your emotions. Like we talked about, getting that adrenaline rush. Influencing emotions can come from several different aspects. It can come from television. It can come from what you're consuming, what they're putting in the food. It can come from several different places.
Yeah,
So
so and which is another topic we're going to discuss, how our emotions are pretty much influenced on an everyday basis,
yeah,
like literally. I don't
without
know
us
if
even knowing.
Yeah, I don't know if people understand, but pretty much every decision that we make in life is based on our feelings, how we feel.
Yeah,
So these people who, then hire neuroscientists to study the brain, and they know how the brain works and how people works, well, they're gonna use that to their advantage. So, when they put out storylines about mass shootings that might not be true, that is to play with our emotions, to put us in fear. Because the
yeah,
moment we get put in fear, when it's on a level like that, what we gonna look? I put it to you like this: if you got a bully at school and you're scared of that bully, chances are you're gonna come home and tell your brother or your mom about that bully, and because that's your fear. But if you're scared of another fucking country doing something to you, then who do you turn to? Your government.
not only
The,
not
your
your
government, who is
government.
the one who's manipulating that situation, so you could turn to them.
Exactly, exactly. And a lot of you may not want to believe that your government is actually setting up situations to put you in fear. But what does fear do? When a person feels fear, frustration, or anger,
They're vulnerable.
they're vulnerable and they're most likely to act aggressively towards others. So more boom, more chaos, more corruption, and that's
Mhm.
overall what they want. So
Yeah, fear causes chaos. Chaos causes wars. People benefit from
yeah,
wars. People become billionaires and millionaires during moments of wars. Absolutely true. So, and that's really why a lot of shit is manipulated. When there's like, okay, we need a change in society or a change in, this. They go with some old stupid evil ass plan, but there's a certain group that always benefits from that evil shit that comes out on top,
yeah,
like for real.
yeah.
We're gonna
That 1%. But and like I said earlier, it's
1%.
a lot of your emotions, your health. I mean, the way that you feel on an everyday basis is influenced through the food industry. So what you're consuming, what you're putting in your body, whether it be fast food chains or your local produce section that may be pumped and plumped at your local market. I mean, it's.
not
And
only do the food industry, we already
we,
know they tampering with the food as
hmm
far as like the GMOs and the hormones and shooting up shit. We already know
yes.
that. You know that look that's factual. You know how? Because for years I used to go buy chicken breast and they used to be averagely a certain size, and now they
Like
got
this
chicken
big.
breasts walking around with like double D's, like
Hmm.
dead serious. If that chicken was living, it probably was getting so many looks from the male chicken. Like these chicken breasts were so big,
And
like
if you
dead
guys, if
serious.
you guys aren't aware, chickens are getting plumped. Not only chickens, other type of animals or what we eat is being plumped up with what? Do you know? I don't even know what they're plumping them up with, but it's disgusting and it has to be affecting our mind. It has to be affecting our body, our organs. And we want to talk about that with you a little bit more if you aren't aware of the health risks out there and what the big societies are supporting, like even the Cancer Society, American Cancer Society, supporting certain food industries that are known to cause cancer, just as an
And
example.
that's that shit that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about, like the
Hmm.
breast cancer awareness. They'll be sponsored by Tyson Chicken that causes breast cancer.
Which is
Like
ridiculous. It's all about money, sponsorship at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And it's sponsorship not just for a good cause, it's sponsorship for evilness and to carry on the overall plan. So,
and we kind of touched on how the media spread the lies and rumors and
hmm
how wars are created and started. But those are topics that we're going to discuss. In addition to those, we're also going to talk about false flag events. And if you're not familiar with that, false flag event is essentially when a country, so to speak, perpetrates a tragic event that occurs but it really didn't happen. For example, the Sandy Hook situation. So everyone is familiar with the Sandy Hook situation, and everyone was tore, their emotions was tore to shreds behind, all of the kids that, died in that shooting. And look, if it really happened, I'm not saying anything bad about it. However, there's always another story. And I've seen so many documentaries with facts, with footage, video footage of them rehearsing the day before. I
yeah.
don't believe in coincidences like that. I'm sorry.
Using the same
Same
actors for
actors,
different events that
different
showing
events,
up at.
exposed like a motherfucker.
Explain that.
Like seriously. So and what's exposing it is technology and the power of me. Everybody has a camera. Everyone has a cell
Hmm.
phone. Because back in the day, they was able to get away with this shit because if you put different people in different scenes and only 1,800 people saw the shit, you get away with it. But then you got millions of people that got cell phones that could go to YouTube and watch a documentary, that could just click on the link, and now 2 million people could all see it at the same time. It's hard to hide shit like that. It's hard to keep shit like that under wraps without people exposing it. There's too many eyes on it. That's what it is.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Well, we're going to start exposing them, then false flags, and talking a little bit more about that with you as well. And that goes into the government conspiracies. I mean, there's so many governmental conspiracies out there on so many different levels about so many different events, and we're going to touch basis on quite a few of those as well with you guys.
Not even just a conspiracy aspect, just look at your government today aspect.
Yeah.
Like, look who's running your government. Look who they give you as options to run your government. Look how many people within your government always get caught into some lying shit, some dumb shit, some whatever, and they always get caught off, let off the hook. So we're going to hit the governmental piece at different aspects of it.
Yeah, even them, just like as simple as them taxing. I'm pretty sure you guys are tired out there of getting your ass taxed every time you swipe your card or pay for something, or get a paycheck. Your hard earned money. I know every year that we go to file my taxes, I throw a whole fit about the same thing every year. I'm just tired of paying the government, feeling like I'm working and not getting anything back. So we're definitely going to talk about that too.
I'm going to bring up housing and how still to this day in 2009 is still manipulated for certain demographics to have more opportunities than others.
Hmm.
Quick little tidbit on housing. I worked at a financial institution a couple of years ago, and at the tail end of my employment, I remember there was a home disclosure act that everyone used to read, and it pretty much kind of went like, you know what is your race, ethnicity, shit like that. And then we would tell them that, well, hey, we take this information, we send it to a group just to make sure that everything is still fair. Make sure that people are still lending fair to other people. If this black person has the same credit profile as this person, then they should get the same interest rate as this person. So I remember around that time reading a story or seeing a story about how after statistics came out that it showed that minorities were still getting duped with housing interest rates when their credit was the same or even slightly better than their counterpart,
Counterpart, yeah,
American
yeah.
or whatnot. So that made me think. Oh. And then when I went back to work, we had a meeting. I was in leadership. We had a meeting, and I remember there was a big change that came out, and the disclosure that was mandatory for us to read, they now have took it away and said, well, hey, this, their reason was to streamline the loan application process. We're just going to not read the demographic disclosure to them anymore. And I got to thinking about that. And I was like, so they just got exposed, showing that they're being unfair again. And they had two options. They could be like, you caught me red handed again, be some pieces of shit. We're going to go ahead and do it fair from here on out. Or they could have said, you know what, it is what it is. Y'all busted us again. Whatever. We're going to take the disclosure out because we don't have to be fair. It is what it is.
Which is
And they
ridiculous and
took it
again
out.
blatant.
They took
Just
it out. You could give me whatever excuse you want. That shit was
crazy.
taken out so they didn't have to hold their word. So we didn't have to no longer say, oh, the reason we read this to you is to make sure that they're still being fair. Because they're not. So when motherfuckers call back in and be like, well, why you read me that bullshit and told me that the reason, shit's look, put us in, bad positions.
Hmm.
But that's the government, and and it'll never be fair. They'll always find a loophole to benefit a certain demographic and hinder a certain demographic because that's just how they are. That's just
And
how
that's
they
how
are.
it'll always be. They're going to be living it up, and we're going to be just bottom feeding it up for the rest of our lives. And that kind of goes into the consumer based living as well, with us just being consumers. Buy. All of us just want to buy everything. And everything is just manipulated into us just shedding out money and paying those taxes. The more that you buy, the more they get paid, the more they get that little tax cut. So,
Every if you think about it, stores, everything is just meant for you to spend every dime you make. And then the crazy thing about that is you think about certain things like cell phones, certain things like internet, certain things like cable that may not have been around, all the time,
mm,
but yet those new expenses has been created,
yep.
but the income that people have made has not been increased to fit that. So you have all of these monthly incomes that is now being created that people kind of get for yes, internet is not necessary, but it's pretty much fucking necessary. They done made it to,
Nowadays it
yeah, just
is.
like a cell phone. At one time it was like, I don't need no cell phone. No, that shit's
And
necessary now. So they make
hmm
things that's not a necessity seem
seem
like a
like a necessity.
necessity, and they just got people stretching $8, stretching 100 pennies 300 different ways,
Yeah,
pretty
and
much.
it's glorified. I mean, all the like we talked about the commercials. Every time you see a commercial, what do you say? You want that. You want that. You want to eat that. You want to go there. So they
They play
control
on your
you.
feelings. They,
Yeah,
they they know what colors to go after. Like seriously, colors that they
seriously.
put in commercials,
Hmm.
shapes of
Images. Yep.
bottles, images. Everybody know that a lot of commercials always have that sexual feel because that
Hmm.
appeals to everyone. But
It appeals to your subconscious. So if you don't even think that it does, it
even
does.
outside of that,
Hmm.
they do.
Cool. Well, we're definitely going to be talking more about that as well. Right, keep it right on moving. We're going to talk about prescription drugs. So, as you guys may know, prescription drugs are one of the leading crises in the world, or today, the opioid crisis. It is contributing to that. Opioids are super easy to obtain, and something even as simple as like an anti-anxiety drug or depression medication can lead to suicide or even homicide. So it's super deadly, and that's just talking about the mental aspect, the manipulation of your mental aspect. That's not even talking about the money. So.
Yeah, it's no secret that everyone knows nowadays that prescription drugs, those pharmaceutical companies are pretty much the real drug dealers.
Oh yeah.
Um, Everyone knows that they're in it for that almighty dollar at the end of the day. All of these prescription drug crises that happens sporadically throughout the years. Opioids now. At one time it was something else. At one time it was something else. At one
Hmm.
time it was something else. But yet these pharmaceutical companies are still in business. They're still able to what they do, just change the ingredients to the drug, name it something else, and it affects you just a little bit less than that other fucked up pill that was
Yeah.
affecting
Or is
you.
that just what they tell you?
I
You
mean,
know,
come on. And we're also going to talk about
the street drugs.
yeah, the street drugs, the illegal drugs, the ones that they make illegal till they want to make legal when they want to then benefit off of it.
Hmm.
And how that probably was, kind of put in place by them. It's almost like this. If you go to a third world country or to a place that doesn't see a lot of money or a lot of something, and you just start dropping that shit and they need that, or they could benefit that, they can turn that into something that's going to enhance their life, they're not going to do it. So if people get bundles of drugs and bundles of weapons dropped out and they're living in hooded areas and they live in these low income places where they don't have opportunities and they see an opportunity, you damn right. And
Oh
you know
yeah,
what?
all of them.
They know that,
Hmm.
which is why they did that. They're
Hmm.
not stupid.
Hmm. They're
No,
not stupid. You may try to treat them like they're stupid, like they're gonna self destruct. But they're not stupid.
they're not stupid. Like, listen, 1% is controlling pretty much 99. So that kind of shows you who's stupid and who isn't. Like, and like just being straight up.
Yeah, it
Um,
does. It does. But open your eyes and see, you know. And that leads into the court system.
And everybody knows that the court system is unfair. The little balance beam thing they have is a bunch of bullshit. Court system is so unfair in every aspect, whether you're talking about the criminal court or the family court. Shit, the civil court is just anytime that someone can get charged for the same crime with no priors, and one person get way more time than the other person, and the only thing difference was that one person had an attorney, then that has nothing to do with fairness of court system. I mean, shouldn't the judge, the knowledgeable one, be the one to hear out whatever and weigh out the decisions? That way the punishment is the same. If you're a broke motherfucker, you ain't gotta end up spending 8 years for shoplifting, and the person that had a little bit of money got probation for shoplifting
Hmm.
or whatnot.
That's ridiculous. That's an injustice to us as a society, and it's ridiculous. But they are definitely getting over, and this is something that's been happening for quite a while. As long as you have some money, you can go commit any type of crime, pretty much. But
Yeah. Privacy. Privacy will be
privacy,
the next one. That's
yes.
something that I think everyone loves, is their own privacy. And if everyone felt like picture yourself home, chilling by yourself, and you happen to glance at your window and your blinds were open and you saw somebody peeping at you. When you feel fucking weird, like eerie, that would be a very eerie feeling.
Freak the hell
Like,
out.
why I don't understand why people don't freak out as much privacy that they give up to the government, to these social media
Yeah.
apps, to all type of, you got to allow permission to have access to your contacts, access
Access
to
to
your pictures,
microphone,
access
access
to
to
this. And then it's Alexa, can you
yeah.
do that?
Let me get Face ID, face recognition, fingerprint, everything.
Look, all of that shit, y'all can think that, everything that they're making convenient for y'all is because they like y'all and they're nice and they just want y'all to, lay
Think
back,
that.
relax, and have it easy.
Hmm.
Alexa, do this. Walmart, bring me my
Hmm.
groceries. Uber, come bring me this, place. Like, seriously, y'all could think they're doing that because they just want y'all to be relaxed and feel good. No, 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 no. They want y'all to be docile and caught completely off fucking guard when they come snatch y'all ass out that house.
You
Yeah,
don't think it's far fetched
y'all
now. You
think
ought
it's
to be
far fetched?
thinking, planted
Yeah,
seeds
yeah.
told me that they're
Look,
going to snatch my ass out of my house when they're snatching your ass out your
look. When
house.
y'all watch the
So,
videos, if y'all go to YouTube and y'all watch the video, we're gonna have visuals on there where you're gonna see the fucking million FEMA coffins or whatever. What you think they do? What you think they just got that shit for nothing?
oh,
Like,
everything.
people pay. Well, don't people pay for their own funeral in their own coffin? Like, what the fuck you got?
They have thousands upon thousands of pre-made, ready-made
Like,
coffins ready to go. For what? What you think that's for?
not like for me, but I'm just
For one of us are next. So let's
what?
wake up, guys. Let's.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So this is, I don't know if y'all know, these little machinery robots taking jobs, putting people out of warehouse, jobs.
Factories.
Also, it ties into the food industry, how they're manipulating, the veggies and the fruits. How they're
Nothing's real nowadays. It's all plastic. It's all, and it tastes like water. Did we tell
the grapes.
the
So
grapes?
so
Yeah.
so we got some grapes, probably from Walmart, because that's pretty much where we shop. Got some grapes, took them home. Haven't had grapes in a while. Them damn grapes was good. Them
Delicious.
grapes was good as
Yes.
fuck. So good that we went back probably like 2 days prior. And that was like a late night snack too, like one of them super late nights, and like shit, I got the munchies,
Mouth
what they got
dry,
after that.
everything is
Oh,
gonna
them
wake it
grapes
up.
was good. Went back and got them damn grapes, got some more grapes, brought them home. It probably was like day 2. We had those grapes. So like, man, go get them grapes. Go get them grapes. Man, when I tell you these grapes tasted plastic, like I like seriously
The
the
bite.
bite, the chew, the taste, the sweetness, like just plastic. Like just reminded me of like those fruit bowls that like your grandma may have had that had the little grapes on the vine and you peel them off
Pull
as
them
a
off,
kid
yeah.
and chew on them and it sticks to like the inside of your jaw. But
That's what you did? I ain't do
that's
all
what I
that.
did. I left
Okay,
it.
I ain't
Yeah,
play with grandma's fruit like
my
that.
shit. I think my brothers was doing them too. I think the ones I used to put back on the grapevine, my brother used to take off and then try to copycat me.
Oh, that's
No,
cute. That's real cute.
like, bro, my spit still in there.
That's real cute.
We was young though. We was young. Also, we gonna talk about religion.
Yes.
Now, not in the aspect where we're shunning anyone's religion. We're open minded. We respect everyone's religion. It's not even so to speak to talk about the different types of religion, but talk about how we feel like
Religion's been manipulated to
like it's so many, and not just that. Some religions, especially some mainstream religions, do y'all kind of sit back and watch what goes on, like in these churches, like like.
We're gonna show some videos
Oh
here on
no,
YouTube
we gonna
too. We're gonna show you guys some
videos.
clips here of shit that goes down in churches nowadays from all over the U.S. Hell, it could be from all over the world. Really.
All and not just a selected demographic, all walks of life.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers up and they're doing some fuckery.
Like sexual things in the church, embarrassing things, humiliating things
Just
in the church.
dumb shit. They got motherfuckers sitting in coffins coming back to life. Like,
look, like come on now. And then not to even talk about how like the ministers, pastors, and everything with like the balling out of control. Like
not
balling out of control.
And they so blatant with it. Well, these motherfuckers now like pretty much they don't like hide and tell you, hey, we need you to put money in a collection plate so we could build a recreation center. Them motherfuckers like, I need a private jet. I need this.
I need to fly around the world to preach the word, which is great.
But the crazy thing is, it's a bunch of dummies who motherfucking donate. It's a bunch of dummies who would send their money. They probably got like monthly installments set up to these churches.
Automatic recurring payments.
Look, like pay your tithes. Like what? Look, Jesus or God, I'll take it up with them, whatever. Like they're not collecting no, like how, like what? Like what? Like explain that shit to me. Like what?
Yeah, and there's stories that we have about
FedEx and that shit up there. How it's like.
There's stories we have about walking to a church and certain situations that may have rubbed us wrong, but we're going to talk about that a little bit further in our later segments. We also talked a little bit about technology already and how technology works with controlling the mind and manipulating the masses. So we're going to delve deep into that as well.
Technology, one thing about technology, everyone that always have a love-hate relationship with it. When it's working fine and proper, is good. When these electronics freeze up, we want to throw them, we want to break them. And the human nature is so crazy because how like how the internet started, how slow it was compared to how fast it is now, and how people have the nerve to be impatient with it. Like how slow that shit used to be.
I'm young, but I remember dial-up. Having to just deal with the annoying noise, deal with the time that it took, not having to use a phone. You can only use the phone or use the internet, and the nerve of me now to not want something to take a couple seconds longer to load than necessary.
But
So
is technology really, really a benefit? Yeah, the technology is absolutely a benefit to us in some ways. But everybody know once technology, think about the technology that is out now. I mean, think about how much data could be stored on like a little SD card, how
this
much
big.
these little phones can carry, how much these
Hmm.
phones can do.
Hmm.
And that shit that they're showing us. So think about the shit they're not showing us. That
Oh
shit
yeah.
probably get way more crazy, way more wild. And anytime that your technology, it seems like technology is too fast, advancing too fast,
They're gonna slow it
it
down.
causes chaos. It's going to get out of control, and eventually something is going to have to happen where they have to make a move. I mean, shit. Look at how easy people have accessibility to find out information about one another, strangers,
Hmm.
fraudsters, break. All of that is due to technology. At the end of the day,
Yeah, I've always said I feel like technology and man, you combine that with evil, and it's going to take over the world. So it's going to be the end
yeah,
of the world.
I
So
I, I think that pretty much. I think is it technology and evil
yeah.
and man-made evil. That is it.
Another man-made thing that you guys may have noticed, something real pretty, little designs in the
You
sky.
talking about Kim? Kimmy?
Talking about them chemis in the sky, them chemtrails is what we're talking about. You guys know what those little white?
Y'all seen them, don't that? Y'all know what the hell they are.
I
Y'all
don't know how
looked
to
up and y'all
explain
like,
them.
damn, did a jet leave that? No, ain't no
Yeah,
goddamn
it,
jet leave. That ain't no damn jet stream. That ain't
ain't
no
no jet around your damn house.
condensation. That shit don't stay in the sky for hours on at a time and
Yep.
then get puffy and thicken up its shit. Like get out of here with that shit. We've seen jet stream disappear seconds after that, jet passes or whatever. And then we seen them chem strands
Hmm.
just just kind of get laid out there and just like, hey, I know this day is a nice day, but we want to keep y'all inside because this shit be about to float in the air, about to have everybody around this bitch sick. And then everybody go to think about it, float shit in the air.
Hmm.
You have to breathe. You can't avoid not breathing, so they float shit in the air. You go out there, you may have to go to work, so you can't avoid it. And all that shit that's floating in the air, you don't know how it's affecting your body. So it could bring you, it could make you get the flu. It could make you just whatever. You
Disease.
don't know what the hell it is. So what happens is
Hmm.
what you do? You go to the doctor. Who's benefiting? The doctors, the nurses,
The
like
government.
the government, the pharmaceuticals or the vaccine, like
Hmm.
whatever they have, whether they have to give you a pill, a shot, a point, whatever it is, it's a benefit to everybody but you.
Yeah, and that goes right along into it possibly causing diseases, just like anything else. There's all these diseases that are being created. I mean, it goes from what 5 to 50 diseases within a what was it, a 10-year time span? It might have been shorter than that, but it's ridiculous on the diseases that are coming into this world. Or it seems like there's one epidemic at one point or another. It goes away, and then there's another epidemic. Well, what happened?
Let me give you an example. So we watch. I'm actually gonna shout them out. It's called Babble
Shout out.
Top. But they show various facts about fast food industries,
Hmm.
Ramsay, just Chef Ramsay and other shit or whatever. But this particular one was like how the hamburger was invented. And essentially what we got from it was a meatball. Someone actually ran out of something and pressed and put the meatball between the buns and pressed down on it and voila, the hamburger was invented. Why don't y'all think that same way about scientists? Like, I'm trying to create something or, invent something, and oh, fuck, I think I just invented a disease when I was trying to actually find a cure for something. What do you think they do with that? What do you think they do with it? You think they just like discard it, saying the hamburger's still around? The hamburger, right?
That's a good analogy. Think about that, you guys. The hamburger is still here. Okay, so
they're not tossing those diseases away. They're saying, look, I was trying to come up with this, fucked around and came up with this. How I know? Because these people we done rounded up that I've been doing tests on. Look at like he done deteriorated. Look what's going on with
yeah, and
him.
just testing
Like,
on people, and we're going to talk about all that as well as far as the control of all that. But I also want to talk about the assassinations.
assassinations, and
Yeah.
not just the general JFK and MLK assassinations. We're talking about some assassinations that people may not have been aware of. And it's just to point out that the power that the government has to manipulate situations, events, and have people thinking this person died this way because of that or that way because of that. But in actuality, that's not indeed how it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just again a bunch of manipulation, and we're believing in it. Well, we're woke now, and so you guys need to go ahead and wake the fuck up. So,
Yeah, pretty much. And another one is going to be, hey, are you a Democrat, Republican, or really does it fucking matter?
yeah,
Elections are so rigged from every aspect of the elections, whether you're talking about presidential, senator, governor, they're all rigged. They're all set up. Like
they're pre-selected.
anytime you bring me two fucking characters like Bart and Lisa Simpson and say you got to pick between one of these motherfuckers for president.
Bart and Lisa.
What? Like what? Those were my options. Like Stewie from Family Guy wasn't even fucking available. I would take Stewie from Family Guy. Like seriously. But seriously, y'all
It's
get
a
what I'm
joke.
saying.
Yeah,
They're like in Trump and Hillary. Like
yeah.
you know what?
So that's
I'm not voting this
why.
year.
Why first of all, why waste your time going? Your vote doesn't count
like,
to
like
begin
for real.
with. But why waste your time going in there
Like, bro.
and
Look, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I'm in my 30s. You know how many times I voted for the presidential election? You know, zero.
zero?
And zero is how many times I will bring my black ass up there to vote. I'll never waste my. I've been called ignorant for not voting. Well, motherfucker, you ignorant. The person who called me that, motherfucker, you ignorant for thinking that your vote mattered. How about that? Like for wasting
And
your
that's our
gas.
viewpoint.
For, yeah,
That's
for
just our
wasting
viewpoint.
your gas, wasting your time, standing in that irrelevant ass line and casting that irrelevant ass vote, and then complaining about your irrelevant ass selection, thinking that your irrelevant ass decision
Yeah.
was going to make
When people
a
say
difference.
your vote makes a
Fuck out of
difference, your
here.
vote counts. Like, okay,
I
that's
don't even
great.
know if they're like, I don't even know why they still keeping that shit up. Like, they may as well just go ahead and be honest. Like,
Because
y'all stay home, we gonna do this
there's
shit.
still
We
a majority of people out there who truly believe that they make a difference. They
that's the
truly
crazy
believe that
thing.
they make a difference.
Yeah, they
Wholeheartedly
really do.
believe
That
it.
they're like hardcore, like
Mhm.
USA and the greatest country ever, and I'll be at that voting booth first thing in the morning, and this country would never do shit.
Yeah.
And then when that country dupes them, they're like, I never thought this country would be like that. I used to
But
be
that's with anything. You're die hard for something until they dupe
until
you or
April,
don't
yeah,
need you,
yeah.
and then you're just
Then
like,
they
"Whoa,
looking
I did this for you.
stupid.
I did that for you. Why would you?" And you look stupid and feel stupid. So we're going to talk about that more as well. And another big thing that we kind of refer to throughout this segment is about the mind control and experiments on people. That goes into the MK Ultra. If you're not familiar, I know Chat knows a little bit more about the MK Ultra and the effects of that on people and the testing on people.
Yeah, I think that a lot of this is probably done, in all honesty, through the military. If you think about it, that's where
Hmm.
they have the ability of taking young people who don't know any better, who naive as fuck, and doing whatever to them, brainwashing them, whatever mind control, whatever. We already know, like in the music industry or the entertainment world, that shit exists. But you'll be a fool to think that that shit don't exist in the military. That shit actually probably
That
originated. You know, well,
probably is
I think it
military.
stemmed from after. I think it was. To be honest with you, I think it stemmed from like
Hmm.
after the Nazi war or whatever. One of the scientists who was doing that shit in Germany, our government flew that motherfucker out here, put
We
him
want
up.
you. Oh
Yep,
yeah,
and
it
got
was
him.
Germany.
Yep,
Yep.
got him to showing us what the fuck he knew. And there was tests. There's actual documentation of the government being busted with the whole mind MK Ultra mind control shit. So this shit is factual.
There's people who expose them, who tell
Yeah,
their
it's
story about it. I mean,
it,
just listen to them. Whether you think they're crazy or batshit crazy or not, listen to them. Hear them out. Hear anybody out.
but it was supposed to stop. When they got found it out,
We gonna
it was
stop.
supposed to stop. Just actually, the Illuminati shit. At one time, that shit got founded out, and way back in the day, whatever laws that they had put a ban on that shit. But it's called a secret society for a reason. So
Hello.
they secretly. And what happened is you get enough people, you poison at one time the country may have had great intentions. Who knows? Don't know. But you get enough motherfucker that's going with that evil plot, as we mentioned, and that's just what's going to happen, especially when it's the people at the top. That's what happened. What you have to do is you first have to make that dollar valuable. And you have to make sure the people who have the dollars are the people who want to be in control. So you manipulate situations and events to put people who really didn't have money at one point in control. and we're gonna break all that shit down.
Yeah.
We're gonna break it down.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. This was just us going over the bullet points of what we'd like to discuss with you guys for the first 38 or so episodes.
Absolutely, and that pretty much was wraps up a lot of the bullet points. We kind of meshed some, and didn't go over some because we kind of meshed some of the talking points in with one another. But that wraps it up. After this, our very first episode is going to be on vaccinations, and we're going to dig deep in detail into that.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested in hearing more about any of the topics that we went over today, make sure that you tune in for either those podcasts or you can listen at a later recorded episode on our YouTube channel. So
Yep.
make sure to follow us on Twitter, follow us on our Instagram page, and let us know if you have any questions. We appreciate you guys for tuning in and for watching.
Absolutely. And I do want to let y'all know the nerves kind of left a little bit. I hope that we ended up getting a little better as it went on. This was our first episode, so it was it was fun. It was all that we thought it would be.
Yes.
I enjoyed the little conversational piece. I can't wait till we start doing the episodes for the people who listened and watched. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, we can't wait to talk to you guys,
Yeah.
just to include another party into the
Interaction,
conversation.
yeah, another perspective. We'll love to interview some people,
Yeah, so just email us if you'd like to be interviewed. You can write us on YouTube, or like I said, you can private message us on our Instagram and Twitter pages. We'll make sure to include that information on a later episode for our podcast and also on our YouTube channel.
Cool. Well, I think that just about wraps up our first episode. So,
All right.
Thank